Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is, honestly, just deeply unusual and, frankly, super fascinating. Normally we're looking at massive data sets, sprawling articles, maybe thick research papers. But today, our source material is this incredibly brief, yet completely chilling artifact of text. It's literally just a handful of words long, but it hints at a profound, seemingly impenetrable unknown. So, let's jump right into it.
I want you to really let this exact text sink in. Excerpts from the FBI's ultimate unsolved mystery, the darkest mystery the FBI could never solve. Seriously, those 16 highly charged words are the absolute entirety of our focus today. There's no accompanying case file, no witness transcripts. It's just this singular, incredibly heavy framing. And as we're going to see, when you have so few words to work with, every single linguistic choice carries massive, massive weight. Section 1, Introduction to the Mystery.
Section 2, Deconstructing the Ultimate. So, the source text doesn't just call this some everyday cold case. No, it aggressively elevates it way above all the others. I mean, think about the sheer volume of files the FBI handles on a daily, yearly, and decadal basis, right? Out of all of those thousands of files, this excerpt isolates one singular unknown and literally slaps the label ultimate right on the front. Words matter, and this specific linguistic choice sets a very deliberate stage. Now, what's really interesting here is how the literal definition frames this mystery as the absolute, unsurpassable peak of unsolved files. We're talking about concepts like final, absolute, the greatest extreme. It implies that if you were to stack every single unsolved case on top of one another, like just climbing a massive mountain of mysteries, this text is referring to the flag planted at the absolute summit. There is literally nothing beyond it. So, the crucial point to take away here is the intense contrast between our routine unsolved file and the monumental final weight conveyed by that label of the ultimate. You see, a standard mystery is basically a puzzle waiting for a missing piece. It's active. It implies that, hey, maybe tomorrow a tip line rings or some new DNA technique is developed and boom, the file closes. But the ultimate mystery, exactly as it's framed by our source, feels totally different. It carries this heavy sense of permanent untouchability.
Section 3, The Darkest Unknowns.
We really have to ask ourselves as consumers of this text, what elevates this particular unknown above all the rest to warrant such an emotionally heavy descriptor? Notice how the source doesn't use words like most confusing or most complex. No, it bypasses all that and goes straight for an emotional, visceral reaction. By zeroing in on the darkest, we can truly feel the tension this source material is building. I mean, darkest is a word entirely steeped in shadows and dread. It implies malicious intent, human suffering, or just something so deeply unsettling that it instinctively repels the light of any investigation. And this brilliantly illustrates that the excerpt is suggesting a situation that isn't merely some logistical headache for investigators, but rather something deeply grim and entirely obscured from the light of truth. It's really a dual meaning. It's dark in the moral sense, like wickedness and tragedy, but it's also dark in the purely informational sense, a profound absence of clarity, a literal blackout of facts.
Section 4, An Unsolvable Institutional Failure.
The explicit repetition of DFBI directly pairs the world's premier investigative agency with an absolute, undeniable brick wall. Look, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is globally recognized as an apex investigative body. We're talking vast resources, cutting-edge forensics, and jurisdiction across the entire United States. By repeatedly grounding this mystery against the FBI, the text really highlights the sheer power of this unknown. Because if the FBI hit a brick wall, what hope does anyone else have? Then, the text hits us with the absolute finality of this single word right in the title, unsolved. It just hangs there, completely refusing to be resolved. It's literally a declaration of defeat written right into the very fabric of the excerpt. I want you to pay close attention to this comparison, because there is a distinct difference between the temporary nature of an ongoing investigation and the permanent, damning finality of the phrase, could never solve. If the text just said the mystery the FBI has not solved, well, there's hope, right? Has not leave the door cracked open for tomorrow. But our source text says could never solve. Could never slams the door shut, locks it, and throws away the key. It implies that the failure isn't just a matter of time, it's a matter of absolute impossibility. It forces us to consider the sheer gravity of an institutional failure so profound that the text actually declares they could never find the answer. Was all the evidence destroyed? Was the perpetrator basically a ghost? The text doesn't tell us, but it definitively tells us that the pursuit is completely over and the mystery won.
Section 5. The enduring question.
Which brings us right back to this framing. The darkest mystery the FBI could never solve. This chilling subtitle provides absolutely zero specific facts, dates, or names. It's essentially a frame without a picture inside. The source material contains a complete and total absence of factual details. No specific crimes, no timelines, no locations, meaning the void itself is the actual artifact we're analyzing today. The author of this excerpt has basically given us the scaffolding of a nightmare, but left it completely up to us to construct the monster inside. The true power of this source material lies entirely in what it omits, forcing our minds to fill in the absolute worst possibilities. You know, human psychology absolutely hates a vacuum. When we're told there's an ultimate, darkest mystery that totally defeated the FBI, but we aren't given a single detail, our imaginations immediately start conjuring up the most terrifying scenarios possible. The text is actually brilliant because it makes the reader do all the heavy, terrifying lifting. Given that the excerpt gives us nothing more than the mere existence of this ultimate unknown, we're left entirely with this chilling, unanswered question. What remains hidden in the dark? We don't know the who, the what, the where, or the why. We only know that it's the ultimate, it's the darkest, and it remains forever unsolved. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I highly encourage you to think about how the words we use to frame the unknown can sometimes be even more powerful than the facts themselves. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you.